Welcome back, everybody, to RPL Formula One. It is time for Season 12, Round 18 of the season, Las Vegas. Who's going to make the gamble pay off tonight and maybe hit the jackpot will become the question. As we said, Round 18, championship for the drivers last week. That was won by Jack Miles, first-time champion. McLaren a few weeks back won the Constructors, and the fake TB, he dropped his contract, meaning JTK, who was the Alpine driver, is going to finish the season as Jack's teammate. We have a lot of things to talk about here tonight for our second US race of the season, our fifth of the game cycle. This should be a good one. My co-com for tonight, RPL Titan Iron, good to have you. This should be an interesting one to find out for Las Vegas. Last time we raced here, Leo Lund was in the race, and he's not in the race tonight. We don't need to talk about Leo Lund too much. We already talk about him a lot anyway. However, what we do need to mention, though, is that race last season, Titan, Leo was able to gap the cars behind, regardless of them being in a DRS train. He was that much quicker. Well, in the Tier 3 race here you had to be in a DRS train or else you were going to lose so much pace. In the Tier 2 race here, we did have a safety car, which did change the complexion of things, and this has been similar for our Tier 1 races here in the past. The DRS train, you have to be in here, or else you're in no man's land. In the Tier 2 race we had here last season, it was a DRS train fight for the victory. It was DRS galore. Do you think we're going to see something similar tonight for our race, whether it's for a victory, P3, or... Well, I don't think we'll have anything else to talk about. The DRS trains could be so powerful. I would have to think so, Titan.
Yeah, the DRS train can be a huge factor, especially on that very long straight down that Vegas strip. And welcome everyone for tonight's festivities and everything. We are coming close to the end of the season. The season is coming to a close very soon. Both championships are fully done and dusted, but there's still some fights within some of the other sections of the championship. I mean, P2 is still up for grabs, and that's the main one in the drivers' championship. But in the constructors, there's still a three-way fight for second there.
I think the only driver we're missing in this lobby is the second Sauber. That is Iran Maxwell G. So, let's tell you about our races so far this weekend. Tier 3 winner in Las Vegas was AJ, back-to-back. And yesterday's race in Tier 2 at Imola, Reece Dainty captured the victory for Red Bull. No drivers or constructors in those tiers won just yet, but Red Bull looking to sweep the weekend. And they're going to have to do so with a little bit of a challenge. They have Josh H. in their second car because Egg has a race ban. And George Williams has never been on podium in a Tier 1 race. So if Red Bull want to sweep the weekend, they're going to have to do so with, like I said, a little bit of a challenge. Last week's race in China, it was Skither dominating the race, clear ahead of the pack, took the victory, third win in the last 5 races. Jack and KVS completed the podium. KVS promoted after Egg demoted from the podium after he had some incidents to spare. So, we said headlines, let's tell you them. We already told you the Tier 3 and Tier 2 winner, but we must tell you about Tier 3 and Tier 2 a little bit more because F1 Shorts is making his debut here tonight. He got pole at the circuit in Tier 3 and Tier 2. Maybe Tier 1 possible? Well, he's going to have to do it with an Alpine tonight. TB, we already mentioned his contract situation. JTK, we mentioned that there as well. We have Josh, who is in the second Red Bull, as we said. That is Mr. Pork. He is the second Red Bull because of Egg being under a race ban. Controversially, he is in that Red Bull next game as well. Why, you may wonder, there's controversy surrounding it? Well, he's also the assistant for the team. However, they had a choice to put Skither in that car. Red Bull elected not to. Egg felt a little bit annoyed with Skither, bothering him about that, so Egg didn't really want him. Well, Skither now, for next game, is over at Ferrari with their academy. Not in the main Ferrari, but in the Haas. He'll have an opportunity at Ferrari if both drivers fail their objectives, or one of them miss a race. Owen was the previous Mercedes team principal. I say was because he was removed for inactivity. Wavy Knife in that car making his Tier 1 return, and apparently last start of the game cycle for him. We're getting close to that point, folks. He is now the team principal for the rest of the game cycle. Again, really just 3 weeks. And our
Yep.
off-season races as well. We have Skither's Aston Martin contract, which originally he had, being cancelled because of the Ferrari/Haas situation. Because of that situation, Minico decided to resolve his contracts, and he decided, look, my chance with Ferrari cars and doing well is not going to continue. I feel better in the Mercedes cars. I'll go there next season, in next game. Meaning, they needed a new academy assistant, with Alex Norris moving up to the co-TP spot, taking Minico's role for next game. By the way, rest in peace Eddie Jordan. Alex Norris is running an Irish flag because of that. Skither is going to be the academy assistant for Ferrari, taking what Alex Norris used to have. So that's what changes there. Speaking of Ferrari Academy, Maxwell, who races for them this season, he is going to cancel his F125 contract in Tier 1 for Season 13 to get a Tier 2 contract for Season 17 at McLaren. Interesting to say, Maxwell, Hunted, and Reese all in Tier 2 for next game as of right now. JTK, he switches from Alpine to Williams for next game because of the Minico move. Minico gets a full-time seat at Alpine. Maxwell had that seat, or at least one of those. He's dropped that spot. And of course, as we mentioned, Egg has that race ban. Cookie, next time he races, he has a qualifying ban. Hope Cookie feels better. He has COVID as of the moment stands. And Danny, Aston Martin, that contract got changed. That's the car he'll be racing for next game. So you see the lineup currently for tonight. Josh H, not usually in the Red Bull, he's there. Mercedes have a wacky lineup. Beatnik at his home race, making a Tier 1 return. First time in 2 seasons. Wavy Knife in the Mercedes as well, making a Tier 1 return as well. Longest time in between points finishes, he says. Well, that might be true. In terms of actually making genuine starts in Tier 1 from time to time per season. Wavy's last points finished in Tier 1 was Season 8 Texas. Maybe a US race could help that. With Beatnik, it's his home race, and it's good to see him here, making a return to Tier 1 for the first time since Season 10 Canada. Again, 13 months ago. We have Goatley getting loaned out to Williams for tonight. No qualifying ban there. They got it done before the lobby was sorted. Shorts with that Tier 1 debut. He's an Alpine. We have as well F1 Shorts. Not the only driver in the Alpine Academy making a debut somewhere. JTK, AMS JTK, McLaren debut. So, we're happy with what we've mentioned, and I don't think we have to mention anything more for our headlines. Loans, penalties, changes, everything along those lines. We're getting started for Q1, Titan, and we've never had rain at this circuit in RPL. Let's see if that continues.
I said if we get it, I say you jinxed it, but now it's dry, so that's a good thing.
I'm gonna check
Maybe
streams.
Vegas is just like that. But yeah, full it's gonna be very fun to say the least. And yeah, only one driver serving quality ban, that being Cookie. Egg unfortunately not here serving his race ban that he got, or the instance that he had last week in China. Was kind of that was pretty wild. Not gonna seeing all that. I would have seen the stream for that for China last week. I was stuck in academy. Yeah, that's just some wild stuff there.
Action! We have action, and it's the home driver. Lights, camera, action, Beatnik.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, do I see? Wait, no. I don't see. Unless I'm seeing it right. I don't see Cookie.
Cookie did not
Oh, you didn't
show
count
up.
him?
He
Oh,
canceled
okay.
last moment.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought he was.
So that's why Wavy's in the Merc rather than what's his name, Cookie.
Oh,
Yeah, Wavy and Beatnik.
Let's see Wavy knocked out a Q1.
Well, maybe. I'm not. Never say never, right? I mean, he doesn't always do good in the Mercedes, but interestingly enough, his first points finish ever in a Mercedes. Crazy enough to say that for Wavy's sake because it's such a good car. Well, used to be. Wavy's first points finish with that car came at the circuit in the season 13 Tier 2 finale. Was it 13? I think it was 13. But yeah, he took his first points finish at the circuit. I think it was a P8, P7, something like that. That car, he said,
Yeah.
dreadful luck in. But home driver Beatnik will be the first one across the line. I got to talk about these cars for a moment, Titan. The Mercedes, the V-Carbs, the Aston Martins, the Haas's. Probably the cars with the worst straight line speed around here. We look at cars like the Ferrari, the Red Bull, the Williams. We'll be keeping an eye out on them in terms of racing against other drivers. They have immense straight line speed. And our home driver from Las Vegas, Nevada, Beatnik 714, starts the first lap here around this circuit. And it's quite fitting to have the home driver and one of the only Americans in this lobby to start the first qualifying lap for Q1. And you know what? If anybody knows these streets the best, it'd be him. He got a podium here in Tier 3 for the first time this weekend, earlier on, and you know what? Maybe he could back it up with his first Tier 1 start in 2 seasons. Doubt that's possible, but he'd love to have that happen.
Yeah, well now Beatnik currently going through 7, 8, and 9 past the sphere, and now flying his way down Sands Avenue, coming on through Sands Avenue, working his way through 10 into 11, just passing the hotel, and getting
And
into
Josh's...
the strip
Yikes.
in turn out of turn 12 and down the strip he goes, seeing so many big things like the Hard Rock, the Mirage, Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio Fountains, seeing so many state landmarks of the city of Vegas. Just flying his way down, overtaking Gage, gets there on 218 before the braking zone, into 14, 15, 16, passing Pine Hollywood, and down Harmon Avenue to wrap up the lap into the final corner. And here he comes and flying out through to come across, and the benchmark 30.0 for Beatnik.
31-0 is their benchmark to beat. In fact, that was better than a lot of drivers 2 or 3 times this past weekend so far. Iran Maxwell G not feeling too comfortable in that Sauber. He's happy probably to be in Tier 2 next season though. Second fastest of the 3 that got times in. Minico also racing for Haas. This is where he set his last podium in McLaren 2 seasons ago. 4th fastest. And Alex Norris, as we said, running that Eddie Jordan tribute. He is fastest, and he put in a lot of practice, he said, for this race because he feels like he's been lacking in terms of his speed as of recent. Alex Norris qualified second in this race for Tier 3 the last time here and won the race. So Alex Norris, although he said, I'm going to get this Sauber in a Q3 one day, he thinks this circuit might be the best possible chance for that. And Goatley starts a lap. FRC Knights going down the strip. I just want to see what this Haas hits because when we go compare the other laps, we're going to definitely look at that straight line speed. Everyone will be running different wings, probably in the single digits this time here, but the wings will matter. 212 is the max that Knights reached. Now, when we look at Goatley here coming to the strip soon, we'll keep an eye on the speed difference there, because Williams one of the fastest, Haas one of the slowest. FRC Knights clocking in a time right now.
Well, Goatley's done a set of inters, so we won't be able to see a proper one from him on that one, unfortunately.
True to that, but even then, he's still pushing on the lap in some areas just to see what the setup is like. And you know what? I'm sure when we look at some of these drivers coming up, though, that straight line speed more representable in comparison to FRC Knights. And I believe Josh just got back in, but he's having a nightmare trying to stay connected in this session. And
yeah.
that's not good to see from a driver making his return. He has made starts this season, but it was earlier on. And just to keep an eye on Goatley for a second, although not fully pushing on those inners, on medium, it was 202 their max he reached. And since we were speaking of drivers who were on laps, Goatley, you said not representable, we'll keep an eye on George now, coming through the first set of corners, which have had a lot of contact happen here in RPL, especially from this academy. Cookie and Josh, they said run it back this time, well, they won't do it this time when they make contact in Season 9 here in those first few sections. Zakaria raced it out quite heavily with his teammate Shorts at the time in Tier 2 here, and got spun around by the third place car when Zakaria was second. A little bit of lag happened in that incident. As you saw, George completed the first sector, brushed the wall there, and I'm sure he's going to have a few more moments like that because getting on the power here is extremely tough, but he's still going to continue to go on with this lap nonetheless.
Yeah, and let's not forget, even though it was not streamed, unfortunately, Turn 3 more recently, think about with Tier 3. We had a three-car
Yes.
pileup on the opening lap in Tier 3 a couple of days ago. Um, I mean, me, I raced that one. Myself and Gober, we went very wide to avoid that one. That was a mess and a half. But anyways, I just see Jack just goes to the top of the board with a 30.4 on his end. Let's see what George is gonna have as he's heading down Harmon Avenue to finish his lap into turn 17 and across the line. And it's pretty respectable.
Wow.
37. Not
Fair
bad.
play, George. His race in China was not really respectable, to be honest, because he just did not have the pace. And that McLaren was JTK there, bouncing off the wall onto the strip. We'll keep an eye on that as we're watching an ex-teammate of his enter MKVS down the strip. Let's see what this Ferrari hits. Again, we said Ferrari one of the faster cars in the street. That Haas hit 212. Well, this Ferrari's going to beat that by a little bit. 215 maybe? No, 214. So not as big of a difference as I thought. Maybe the wings are different. Maybe the amount of limits we're on is a bit different here in Q1. Obviously, Q1, you're not going to push the car as much if you're in a top car like KVS. Gecko, second. Andrea, fourth. And now, KVS still in the Thunder for third, just to be taken over by JTK in the background, who again smacked the wall there, coming out of the corner before the strip. Again, that corner and the one right after the strip. So hard to get it down in the braking. So easy to rear lock it. Same with the corner that has the sphere section. So easy to lock it up and crash the car there. Luckily, none of those drivers did that, but they came very, very close to doing so. And Josh H. finally on the track after disconnecting so many times. Good to see there.
Yeah, just seeing FX7 Danny go through the speed trap just under 213 miles an hour.
Oh!
Oh, clunks the wall at 16. That's going to hurt him just a little bit.
And again, that
I
won't be
don't
the
see any
last time that
damage.
happens tonight.
I don't see
Good
any
thing
damage,
there.
thankfully. But he does go up to P10. 31.4 for him. That puts him just behind the Mercedes pairs. And Cryptic, nice showing there, P4.
And we have our first set of teamwork here. Red Bull helping each other out, Titan. We saw this in Tier 3. Red Bull and Ferrari, both two teams that tried to orchestrate this. Josh H to the line, and fastest! So,
There you
he
go.
can now put the critics to the drain with that lap time. Although there was some slipstream, respectable effort from Josh H. Back on top. We're looking at F1 Shorts now on a lap in that bottom 5. Fair play. Welcome back, Josh H. It's been a while.
Very nice lap
Doesn't
by
skip the
Josh
beat.
H there. And one thing I was just about to mention is look how tight it is from P3 all the way to P10. Just about
Oh, yeah.
3.5 tenths separates those 8 cars. That is very close for those guys. This is showing how good the competition is in Tier 1. And as Egg actually pointed it out, he said well, next season, with Leo not on the lineup for any of the cars for Tier 1 next season, he thinks that Tier 1 next season, Season 13, is going to be the most competitive Tier 1 lineup ever.
Hard to argue against that, that's for sure, but Josh H. clearly has not skipped a beat. Red Bull, they've become the villain team as of recent, but you gotta respect what they've been doing, though, nonetheless. Josh H. seeming to be the leader that George has not been as of recent. Obviously, George, the Tier 2 champion from times past. F1 Shorts crossing the line with no battery to spare, but this is going to be a mega lap. 4th fastest!
Ooh.
Well, there's proof he deserved to be moved up to Tier 1. It's right there. F1 Shorts. Up there with the big boys. And guess what? Look at those cars you were talking about, Titan. From 3rd down to 10th. We'll make it 12th now with these laps we've had come up on the board. We have 2 Alpines in that mix, a Sauber, a Williams, and a V-Carb. Obviously, Skidder yet to do a lap, but this is going to mean when we get to Q2 and even the end of Q1, the times that are changing, it's going to be massive. And Skidder going down the straight, the DRS straight this is, one of our only 2 DRS straights, probably not wanting to relive what happened here 2 seasons prior. It was him, Ding, and Reese trying to race it out, and there was a collision. Luckily, Skither didn't end off too bad on that. Reese did. And that section there, you just saw him go through the sphere, one of the most famous sections because of the sphere specifically. We have to talk about the curbing there, Titan. You probably noticed this from the Tier 3 race. A lot of the drivers trying to come through that section had to use the curbing, or else they had no chance of gaining time on their lap. If you did not use the curb, you probably lost at least 2.5 tenths at the bare minimum. That section, it is definitely massive in terms of the lap time you either gain or lose.
Yeah, absolutely, very much so. And yeah, F1 Shorts definitely showing his stride in that car. No doubt about that. That's putting himself in that P4 spot. We got 2 cars left to get a time lap in. Ding, who's currently about to start a time lap, and Skipper just in front of him, about to finish his. Here he comes across the line, and we have a 30.2 for him. That puts him at fastest for the Q1 right now.
30.2?
Stuff.
Not far off of our Tier 2 pole time around this circuit last season, and similar level to what we had in terms of Tier 3 there. Obviously, the times will start to improve. Speaking of times improving, I'm sure we'll see some times have to improve from that bottom 5 or the drivers on the cusp, because Ding is on a lap and a part of that bottom 5. Ding smacked the wall a moment ago, but entered that corner really wide, so if he wants to make up some time to get into the next round of qualifying, it's going to have to come from later on the lap, and he's already wiggly wobbly out of that corner.
Well, that little wording out of you right there. But yeah, we see a couple more cars wrapping up and ending their runs for Q1. We have Josh H, Echo, and KBS joining Cryptic, and those guys are second, fourth, and eighth respectively. I believe that they definitely have done enough to get themselves through. JTK thinks the exact same thing. He's in P6. He's definitely good. Same with F1 Shorts. Went out to see Jack opt to retire as well. But anyways, I will note that the evolution is has actually improved quite a bit, because yeah, for Ding as he comes across the line to finish, he is 14th right at the cusp. Because
I don't think that's good enough.
I don't think it is either. But one thing I will note, if we had to remove him off, the fastest time last season at this track was Leo with a 30.024. But if we remove him off of the equation, the fastest one that was Jack with a 30.7. So
Wow.
if we had to remove the eSport Leo Lund thing out of the mix, Skither's Q1 time right now is half a second faster than last season's Q1.
Yeah, and Shorts is Tier 2 and Tier 3 pull times was a 29.9. So I'm sure we'll see that by the end of the session.
Oh,
or I
yes.
should say the end of the qualifying sessions, because we have Q2 and Q3 still to go. Yeah, well, it just shows the evolution of this game cycle, as you and Faded pointed out yesterday. Speaking of the game cycle, we've not had Minico do a lot of things in F1 cars this game, but we'll have him move up the order. 13th fastest. That puts Ding on the cusp and Wavy in the dropout zone. Wavy Knife for Mercedes, you said he's an easy Q1 elimination, but I'm sure he's going to fight it with all his might. He's not going to give this up just yet at all. FRC Knights completed a lap moments ago. That was an improvement, but it was still not enough to go through in a Q2 just yet. And, you know, drivers like Cryptic, KBS, GTK, I'm sure they're happy they retired. Same with Shorts on his Tier 1 debut. But Andrea might be sweating a little bit with Wavy Knife now starting a lap. And actually, because he went on the curb there, on the inside, where you dip left right at the start-finish line, Wavy Knife, for this run, this and next lap, invalidated. You've got to be careful doing that. It's similar to what drivers like Logan Sargent had happen at Saudi Arabia, coming out of turn 27. I mean, not too similar, because he put 2 wheels in the white line in qualifying, if folks remember, a time or so ago. But you put your tires, all 4 wheels, on that white line where that curb is, it's like a false alarm, and that's what happened to Wavy. He'll have to have enough fuel to go again. He might have enough fuel, but someone who's really risking it is Ding. He was up in that first sector, it looked to appear, but right now, this lap from Ding, even if he finds just 2 tenths Titan, it's still just enough to keep him on the bubble right there. He's going to have to find enough to beat Minico and Red Fire here to at least make sure no one in that bottom 5 beats him. And honestly, if you look at the drivers down there, there's maybe only 1 or 2 who could. But with Vegas and the track evolution, as you were saying, you just never know. But you got to get that corner before the strip right. He almost didn't get it wound down in time. Luckily, though, Ding is still going and on the lap. And right now, not running out of fuel as the current moment stands.
Yeah, there's still quite a few cars just trying to get through. Alex Norris up in the P6. That's a wild one right there. Very, very wild on his part. But let's see, we got a couple more cars. Maxwell just starting his time lap. Red Fire starting his. Wavy redoing his.
Oh!
What the?
Ding backed off. Was not going to improve, he felt. So if Wavy Knife or anyone in that bottom 5 improve, Ding is out. We've seen a few upsets happen here, or a bit of shock eliminations.
Well,
That's
Danny
one out, and Ding is out.
Yep,
Ding is out.
done.
Danny's in. Danny got the lap time in, and that knocks Ding out. Just like Luke Grange in Season 10, a past champion is going to be out in qualifying here in the first round at Vegas. And Wavy Knife is improving right now, but the difference for Wavy here is the time he has to beat to get through is a bit further up the road this time. He's only improving 13 milliseconds in that first sector. The checkered flag is out. Fair effort from Alex, Gecko, Shorts, Danny, all up there in the top 10. Very respectable laps. And still the drivers who still could put themselves there, but all of them coming from the bottom 5. Wavy had a big wiggle wobble there and is down. He's going to have to burn this battery, and he's currently doing so. We switch to Goatley. Invalidated.
Yeah.
So it's up to
Maxwell's
Maxwell,
improving,
maybe.
but he's not going to be moving his position currently. But let's see what happens.
See if his teammate gives him a toe.
I'm staying focused on Wavy at this moment. See what
His teammate could give him a toe, but he didn't. That was referring to Maxwell. We saw a front wing there coming off a car. Couldn't tell who that was, but you saw it on the track. Wavy Knife, though, on the track and on course to maybe beat Ding, but not get into the next round. Wavy did beat Ding, but is not in. Red Fire did not improve either, and thankfully he could say he didn't improve because he really didn't need to. Red Fire snuck through, but in that bottom 5, some surprises, some not a surprise. Wavy Knife for Mercedes in his Tier 1 return. Ding, the Season 1 champion down there. FRC Knights for Haas. Iran Maxwell G for Sauber. And Goatley for Williams. Obviously 5 different drivers, but more importantly, 5 different teams making up that drop zone there with the 5 eliminated.
Hey, you know what's more wild? This is what we like to see. Take a look at this. From P1 up together, all the way down to P15 of Red Fire. 8 tenths separates the top 15. This is what we love to see. Close quarters race, close quarters qualifying from these guys. This is what we love in Tier 1.
Here are your top 3 results from the session. We had 6 different teams making up the top 6, but you had Skither, Josh, and Jack, the top 3 out of Q1. And in that bottom 5, we say goodbye to Wavy Knife, Ding, Knights, Maxwell, and Goatley falling out on our first go. Tier 2 drivers like Beatnik through, Tier 2 driver and Tier 3 driver Shorts and Alex also through. But Shorts, this is his first Tier 1 race after being moved up. We said with Invade last week on the Cocom spot, where would he be? Where would Shorts be? Well, we now know where he is, and now the question becomes, can that same thing be replicated here in Q2? Some comments from some drivers who got knocked out. Wavy Knife says, call him Liam Lawson. He is, well, he knew that would happen. At least he called it this time, and could say out qualified a Tier 1 champion. Ding not happy with the setup. He says never take a setup from teammate Cryptic. He is not cooking with it, and does not know how he did that lap. And this just proves that, again, certain drivers have different driving styles. And Beatnik, home driver, happy he made Q2.
I mean the setup was a bit of a choice of who to go with. For Thursday I took Alex Norris's setup.
That was a good setup.
He had 0.6 wings. That's what he.
That was a good setup.
I mean,
Look at this.
you
They're
know what?
racing to get out there, Titan. We might have a collision if we're not careful. Jack Miles weaving the steering wheel. They're all separating now from the queue. But yeah, I
Would have
chose...
used that instead.
I chose... It was either Night Owl or Minico's I was going between. And I think that's why Egg was not happy with the roll bar I was running or the ride height. I forget which it was, but yeah, it was a bit wacky. I did end up changing it beforehand, and I couldn't find time. Again, like I said, different drivers have different driving styles. And surely we're going to see a surprise here in the Q3 because, again, Aston, the 5th best car. Oh, car off.
That's
That
Jack.
is Jack Miles. He went a little bit on the wrong way there as well, trying to get back going. But yeah, Jack Miles, I think, just trying to get out of the way here of that queue of cars, because you could definitely see it. Everybody in this train wanting slipstream off the car in front. And as I was just about to say here, with the different driving styles, or something else I was going to add on, but yeah, it made sense why Egg was not so happy about that roll bar, because again, one thing that might suit him might not suit someone else, or vice versa. However, laps are starting, and look at the cars as they cross the line. That outlap changing to, well, not showing outlap. That's how many cars are in this queue, trying to pick up slipstream off the car in front. If there's a mistake, though, they're all in danger. Both Ferraris getting slipstream off the V-Carb who leads the train. The Aston a Cryptic behind. He has an Alpine behind him. 2 Red Bulls behind that, and I think I already see a Red Bull backing off on a lap. That is George there. He's bailed out because he made a mistake. However, we're going to see if there's any mistakes in this train because, again, these guys running toe-to-toe like this Titan can easily make a mistake happen. And everyone on the edge right now in Q2 with these laps just because they want the slipstream off the car in front. And honestly, I saw Cryptic use overtake out of that section there. Being in the slipstream kind of takes you out of range to use that button so much. So, kind of pointless to use it here down the strip.
Yeah, but also being in too close means that in some corners you're getting the dirty air off the car, but on these straights, you're definitely getting that fierce slipstream here. And I'm just taking a look at KVS here in that tow with him. 219 in the speed trap. That is
Remember when we had remember when we had F123 with the bonkers and groggers finish here? 226 was the top speed reached, and that was in the race with DRS and overtake. But to the line, the times are set on our first go. KVS, Skither, Cryptic, Gecko, that's the top 4. Does anything change? Josh slotting in 5th. There's a McLaren coming as well. That's Jack. Shorts, I believe, is one of the ones that was going to be up next. No, I'm thinking of the Alpine. Andrea, he boxed. He was in that train, so he got out of it. George just did as well. So our next driver to cross for a benchmark is FX7 Danny. And on tracks with a lot of slipstream like this, he's been wonderful. Right now, though, on the first go, he's the slowest. Now it's Red Fire. And maybe Alex Norris could say something. And he's up to 6th there. Alex Norris just slotting in behind Gecko, but ahead of Red Bull. We look at Minico down the strip now. That was 219 from Ferrari. And look at Minico, only 212.
Yeah, that just shows how powerful the slipstream is. And yeah, 226 that you mentioned in last game, that I believe that is the fastest ever speed that we've ever recorded in an F1 game here in RPL. Because the previous record was 221 back in F1 21 at Monza.
I believe it, yeah. I remember you mentioning that a while ago.
The only piece
we had something similar in Baku.
Who it was that did it.
Yeah, we had something similar in Baku a long time ago too, but even then, we're not going to reach something like that for a while. It was in that photo finish with George and Bonky. But one thing I have to mention about this circuit, and Beatnik would love to probably tell me why this is, and we probably know why it is, we're just not going to mention it because, you know, why would you put DRS with a corner, right? Well, one thing I will say is down the strip Titan, there is DRS. But the next section after that, there is no DRS. And that is a bit interesting to say the least on a run up to the start-finish line. We saw Beatnik and Alfoto finish in this race with TV.
I'm actually surprised they didn't make a DRS zone briefer there down Harmon Avenue.
Well, it does make sense. There's a slight dip to the left there, and, well, very easy to break your wing from DRS braking there, I bet. Yeah, this section right here, down to the start-finish right where Beatnik is on right now, we had photo finishes here in the past, not only Tier 2, but Tier 1 with the finish for 6 with Beatnik and the Williams at the time, TB and the Alpine, our inaugural Tier 1 race here. But Beatnik now coming through the first set of corners. Again, so easy to lose it in that section. I know Maxwell was one of the drivers saying he had issues with that when practicing. Again, you're just going to be careful in that throttle input. But 205 down to the braking zone for Beatnik. Use a bit of the curb, get right up next to the wall. Don't smack it. Beatnik did, though. That might cost him a bit of time. 26-0 to open up the first sector. Now, brake heavy for here. Ride the curb a bit, and be careful about rear locking. So easy to invalidate. I can't tell if Beatnik is just a bit laggy on our screen or just that being on his end or our end.
Yesterday in Tier 2.
Well, luckily, it wasn't too bad, so hopefully for this Tier 1 race, it is manageable. But nonetheless, as he's coming to the end of Sector 2, all is looking good for Beatnik, but again, so easy to mismanage it. And now 55-3 ending the sector, and down the strip he'll go with a lot of battery to manage. And luckily, I think that's a good thing for him, Titan, because in the Mercedes, having that battery to manage, he can just dump it all coming out of the final braking zone here coming up. And instead of using DRS, that's what he'll have to his advantage. But using the battery there on the overtake in 8th gear is probably not the smartest to do because you don't gain as much when you're above the 6th gear like you just went to.
Yeah, very much so. So here comes Beatnik coming out of the final corner to finish his time lap. And he goes up to 8th fastest with a 31.2. That'll put him just ahead of Minko. And that will actually put Red Fire as the first guy in the bottom 5 here for Q2. And have a bit of comparison. The Q2 fastest time last season was a 29.7 done by Leo. But if we took Leo out of that equation, it is a 30.2 done by the Red Bull of TB. So KBS, with help of that toe, about a tenth and a half faster than TB was last season. And wow, GTK!
Hiding some pace, I see. Only second, though, splitting both Ferraris. Andrea put it up to 5th, meaning Miniko is in that bottom 5, and soon might be Beatnik. Look at Shorts here crossing. This is 5th, just ahead of Andrea. A very good lap there from the Dutchman. And in fact, our 2 Dutch drivers sitting 2nd and 5th right now. George up next, and he'll be the last one across the line. Let's ride on board the Red Bull driver, see what he's got in store. George won this race in Tier 2 in the past, got redemption for that time ago in Tier 2, he lost it, but is 6th right now, splitting both Alpine drivers now. So, now in that bottom 5, Josh, who starts a lap. Beatnik starting a lap now as well. We'll keep an eye on Josh then, getting a tow off the V-carb, which is Gecko. And of course, no surprise to see a lot of drivers towing each other along, especially around this circuit. It helps you so much. And in fact, it was a difference between Tier 3 pole and not being on Tier 3 pole just on Thursday. So, an interesting point you were making, Titan, in terms of the laps, well, we now see some surprises up there once again.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Like I said, we have Josh getting a little tow help from Gecko here, as he is almost 3/10 up from the first sector, which is quite solid to say the least. But let's see what he can do even further here. He still has that full battery available to him. So, just like with Beatnik, he's going to dump it all on the strip here, but Gecko's just starting to pull a little further ahead. Hopefully that doesn't hurt him too much. Nice and easy on there, almost bumped into the wall that you didn't want to do. Had a couple people crash out over there, but here they come down there, and
Jack
just went second. Nice!
That's a
Gecko
really
getting
good
a
lap
little
from
help
Jack.
from the Ferrari. One of the Ferraris at least over there, but they're still coming out from the last couple of corners. Let's see what they got. Gecko 9, Josh P11. Let's see what improvement we got as they come out of the final corner. Starting with Gecko first, he improves to 3rd, but now 4th because Josh goes up to 2nd. Both of them in the 30.1.
Now, while the Red Bull Academy, we're doing the Slipstream Games, it's now Ferrari's turn to do this. KVS in front, Skither behind. 4 minutes to go. And Beatnik, who backed off on a lap there moments ago, Titan, I must say, if he used ERS in a better spot, I think he could have been ahead of Alex there. Again, might not make the difference here from the full-time Tier 3 driver, soon to be Tier 2 driver next season. And both Ferraris clunking the wall. This time, though, KVS was the one affected. So if he's staying out there, the Ferrari of KVS, it's going to be to help his teammate, who also does the same thing as well.
As KVS just turned a tiny bit too early in turn 4, and then Skither a couple corners later at the start of the sphere, that's where he invalidated, turned just a tiny bit too early. And yeah, in regard to track limits and penalties, the sphere is probably the one to watch out for in regards to track limit warnings and penalties. The corners before Harmon Avenue is another spot to watch out for as well, but it's a little more rare than the sphere.
One of the corners that people tend to forget about in terms of invalidations is that section before the sphere. I don't know if that was one of the ones you were mentioning, but more importantly, that last braking zone there after the strip. Because if you go all 4 wheels off there, which we've seen time and time again in our qualifying sessions, drivers pick up track limit deletions there because they're trying to go right up against the wall, and if you just brush that wall, I think just barely, and don't crash from it, well, you'll probably invalidate, and we'll find out if Alex Norris is the next one from it.
That was pretty hairy. Was on board with Skither, and Danny, I think, might have gotten in the way of Skither just briefly. Oh, Skither invalidates again. You got me
the same section.
Same corner, too.
Went out of bounds. Our winner last week, again, gonna have to settle with the consequences. We'll keep our eye on Alex Norris, then.
KVS invalidated in the same corner. You have got to be kidding me.
Well, Alex Norris on a lap for Sauber. Oh, into the wall as well! Luckily, kept it going, but if he's going to make Q3, it's going to be pushing the boundaries just like that, but he's backed off. He does have enough time to get back out there on a lap, obviously without pitting, that is. He'll just have to charge and cool the thing down. Andrea's on a lap for Alpine, the only Italian in this session, and losing the rear as well. So if he wants to improve from the bubble, it's going to have to be maybe with another go here, but he might not have enough time. Back in and on he goes. He's going to have to go again, and cutting the track to do so is not going to be the way to go. Leo Lund got penalized for this in Singapore, trying to hurry up with things. So Andrea might be looked at for that one, Titan. Now it's one of your drivers, but again, naughty boy. Danny on a lap now. We're looking at him in that bottom 5. Crucial time for him to get a lap in. It was Gecko who got the lap in for V-Carb, but Danny, who's 1.2 seconds back, desperately needs it now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And let's see what we got here. So Danny, trying to get himself out of the bottom 5 right now, is heading into the sphere corner. He's got a Red Bull and an Aston up his rear. That is either Josh or that's George right behind him. But we know that's Cryptic right behind the Red Bull. Coming on up there, and dead ahead, here's the other Red Bull. I believe that is Josh up ahead. Yes, that's Josh up ahead. So it's George behind Danny. So the Red Bulls working together in a tow here to get that speed necessary and done with. But Josh out of time, so he's slowing down. So that means Danny now has to help George out.
Danny's out. Danny's out. Danny backed off there, realizing it's not enough. And even with the slipstream, not enough. That Alpine who crossed the line there, that was Andrea. Just made it over the line just in time there to get to the checkered flag and get a lap in. Speaking of getting a lap in, let's find out what Skither does. How does he respond? He's going fastest, 29.9 to complete the session. Enter KVS backs off. Cryptic and George found the time. So Alex Norris in that bottom 5 now, needing the time. Beatnik crossing the line for Mercedes. Can he get back to Q3 in his Tier 1 return, excuse me. Beatnik across the line, and he will get the lap in there at the last moment. Beatnik through right now as things stand. It's up to F1 Shorts to get to Q3 now as well in his Tier 1 debut. F1 Shorts with no deployment, crossing, and did find time. He's putting JTK further down the order, and if Andrea and Alex both find the time, JTK will be out. Beatnik inevitably here has to hope Andrea and Alex mess up here. Alex might get into Q3 for Sauber, and it has been so long since they last been in Q3 for Sauber. You gotta go back. 26 races. He's in!
Oh, Beatnik's out!
Andrea might be the only one to deny Alex Norris a Q3 appearance again for Sauber. 26 races with TS Korsman. Can they pull it off with Andrea running out of battery? Yes! Sauber are in! Beatnik at his home race, knocked out in Q2. No surprise there. He thought Q3 was out of the question, but he made it a fight worth watching. Skither, Cryptic, George, the top 3. I cannot wait for Q3. This is incredible.
Yes,
in our bottom
is.
5, another Mercedes knocked out. Beatnik relegated. Andrea relegated. Miniko, Danny, and Red Fire joined them. This time, it was Mercedes, Alpine, Haas, V-Carb, and Williams we say goodbye to. A Sauber in Q3, a V-Carb in Q3, and Shorts on his Tier 1 debut into Q3 as well. Wow. Yeah, Skither upset with Danny. He said he did not move, but he was wondering if Skither was on a lap and did apologize about that. But how about Danny and Beatnik? Two different stories here. Beatnik home race, almost getting through to Q3 here. And for Danny's case, he mentioned to, or Josh mentioned to him that his AI took over. So he was trying all he could, but a tale, two different sides here from these two drivers. Speaking of drivers, we now have Q3 ahead of us. And chat, we would love to hear your thoughts. Who will be in that top 3? What will the poll time be?
Oh my god. Well, one other thing I want to note here. Red Fire, not happy because he invalidated. He actually said before, when he got to the corner before the strip, which he invalidated on, he was up by over a second. And then he invalidated at the corner before the strip, which was the one you mentioned where the possibility of track limits can happen, which it's very rare, but it has been seen.
So folks, Twitch chat, we have 19 of you watching the event. Q3 ahead of us, less than 11 minutes to go. Of course, we've only just started, but who do you think, folks, including commentators in the Twitch chat, who do you think will be on poll? But just like Monza 2019 IRL, no one wants to lead the train. No one wants to be the car in front. And you can see that quite clearly here as the RB of Gecko backed off. The Aston Martin of Cryptic backed off. And now, look at the Red Bull of Josh trying to overtake Cryptic. And you gotta be very careful when doing this because you can easily sit behind another driver and get them a grid penalty. Everyone trying to play the games to not be the car in front here, left without the toe.
I'm currently making my
prediction
on who's going to be the top 3, honestly.
That was Josh who did. I know, I'm very torn on my 3rd place. I've got a clear-cut 1-2. I'll go Josh for my P3. But anyway, we'll go over the Twitch chat predictions for our top 3, or top 5 if you choose to do that, afterwards. However, we finally are starting our first laps of Q3, and this will be the calm before the storm, as they would say, to try and get pole position around these streets. Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Q3! Here we go! Josh, the first one to start a lap. And you know what? Just like his name with pork in it, he's very hungry for a first pole. 4 front row starts in the past in no pole position. Tonight, with a Tier 1 return, would be an immense time to take his first pole. Braking now for the corner. Our last corner of Sector 1. And drivers will be right against the wall. Cryptic brushed it that time. 25-7 from Josh. Now, looking further behind that, I can't see if there's any improvements or not because everyone, so close together, has already crossed the sector split. Josh H, though, having a lot of ERS to spare right here. Being the car in front is going to be the tricky task here, though. With Cryptic trailing, the ERS is going to be dumped now at an immense rate down the strip here, coming up in a few moments' time. Braking for the strip, though, is going to be a one heck of a challenge. Trying not to lock the rears, or trying not to invalidate from that curb. You gotta be careful. 54-7, though. Seems like Josh H is leaving it all on the limits here. He's doing everything possible.
Faster.
There you go. So that will be the difference, especially in this slipstream. He's got to be very careful getting into the braking zone. Josh deploying the battery.
Cryptic's not using his. He's staying in hot lap, not using overtake.
Yeah, but he's got barely any battery to spare. Now going to use it. Look at him in the slipstream here. Josh, now the checkered flag, or sorry, not the checkered flag. The line we get to, excuse me. I'm trying to jump it here, but here's Cryptic jumping at a Josh. Gecko jumping out of both Red Bulls. And yeah, I did really want to jump the pendulum there. But as we do have our first lap time set, it is Cryptic fastest 29.9. We're looking at Jack Miles now, who has not had a pole this season so far.
Okay, that's
We'll
the
see if
speed trap. 220.
Jack Miles crossing, and Jack Miles only third behind Gecko. Both Ferraris get their say of things, and Skither, fastest, KVS now fastest, and currently on target for a first pole. JTK is only fifth.
Wow, I had a feeling KVS was gonna do something. And
do not count him out. Never count KVS out. Just like last week, looking for a first win. More importantly now, a first pole.
Let's see, let me take a peek at something here.
Hold on. Before you do so, Alex Norris crossing, and Shorts as well. Shorts, 9th, but only just off George. Not bad effort there. Alex Norris ran out of deployment to get to the line, and Alex Norris is not slower than Shorts by a big margin there in the Sauber, even though it's the worst car. 1.1 seconds off. So, you know, we mentioned the times being close. You mentioned the Tier 1 drivers being the great drivers they are. But Titan, this track is definitely closer in terms of the field spread compared to other tracks. And we're seeing it in full display with Alex Norris there, only 1.1 off.
Yeah, and like I said, so here is some of the notes here, since we have to include it. Q3, the pole time, was done by Leo, 29.3 was his pole time. KVS is 0.37 behind him. But if we remove Leo off the equation, the second place was Jack with a 30.061, in which Cryptic and both Ferraris have smacked by. I think that's just amazing. Uh-oh. Did we... Nope. Stream's okay. The stream's okay, but, I was having a conversation with someone the first invalidation per Skither.
I am back.
Oh, I was wondering where you disappeared, eh?
I pinged you.
Oh,
Let's see what these predictions look like, folks, so far after our first run.
Oh,
we have my top 3, Skither, JTK, Josh. Only one of those were right. Skither, JTK, Jack. Sacred says. Only one of those right as of right now. Ferrari P1 and P3. Right now they're P1 and P2. You got those 2 right, Titan. And Invade says Skither, KVS, Josh is top 3. He's got 2 of them right, actually, in order. Jack and JTK P4 and P5. JTK P5 though, so Invade not too far off. 4 minutes remaining, and the Ferraris are
Oh,
saying,
that's what
let's
it
get
is.
going now.
Okay, that's what the thing's off of. It's a freaking meme. That's what his name is off of.
Oh,
Okay.
Josh's?
Yeah.
Well, see, I just want to say, people probably wondering, why do you call him Josh H rather than Josh? Well, we have a Josh who raced yesterday in Tier 2 and, well, used to do a lot of F2. And his was
Well, the,
Josh 433.
well,
Josh used to be called Josh
since
H.
Josh H was the first Josh, we'll just call him Josh 1 and Josh 443 Josh
Ah,
2.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But, I mean, to each their own, as they say.
Well, that's just my thing. That's just my
I
theory,
mean,
though. To be honest.
I just want to point something out, though, before we do get our final laps in Titan, and I want your immediate thoughts and quick thoughts before we get these laps going for what could be pole. F1 Shorts and Alex Norris, 9th and 10th here. Both were Tier 3 drivers just 4 months ago, I want to say. Both of them. And they were teammates. Tier 1 debut, Shorts got into Q3, and Alex Norris brought Sauber back to Q3 for the first time in 26 rounds. Immense stuff right there. And you gotta respect the effort that they've done. They did a hell of a job here, especially with their improvements as the drivers themselves. So, yeah, well deserved.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you take this one from NRM, KVS, and Skither. We're starting our laps here. And as they would say, the calm before the storm, here comes the storm. Laps starting here for our final runs in Q3, and what may be the final runs, because you never know. If drivers make a mistake like these Ferraris have, we could see more runs coming.
Yeah, more runs firing off on all cylinders, and we'll see what these people are going to be willing to fire off here. The Ferraris are firing off together. Skither is behind KVS. Let's see what they got here, as Skither is actually improving by 900ths of a second on that one. KVS is actually not improving. He's down by about 500ths after Sector 1. So it looks like KVS is playing a helpful game for Skither here.
Well,
Attempt 2.
Skither will have Slipstream down here. KVS crossing the sector split. You already invalidated, but 54.6 was what he was doing. And now, KVS just only going to be out here to help his teammate at this point and try to have another go at things. He'll obviously be trying to recharge his battery while trying to help the teammate. And KVS won't get really another go at things here because for his sake, he's got no battery. KVS pulling over. Skither now taking control. And one more braking zone to go. Skither riding all over these curbs. Coming across the line, trying to get another pole to his name in RPL F1. Across the line, one of his 3 circuits. He's got pole out for home. Now can it be a third? Across the line, Skither to pole, 29.3. That is a big margin. 3:10 to the top of the board. Red Bull with, I believe that's Gecko, coming into the pits. Gecko's out, and Gecko and KVS both giving up on their session here.
Wow,
Jack Miles up by almost 3/10. The McLarens are trying to work through Papaya Magic here. Across the line, Jack barely any years to spare. Both Red Bulls on laps, 30 seconds to go. Jack now taking over third. Josh and George found the time, third and fourth, only separated by 100th there at the end. Now, it's only up to JTK, who could steal the thunder from Skither, and he needs a lap badly. He's got the slipstream of Jack Miles, but will it be enough here from JTK? 8/10 back from what could be a first Tier 1 pole.
Now let's see what happens here into turn 4. Now bear in mind, GTK doesn't have much help, Jack doesn't have much battery available to try to help. He's up by 600ths after the first sector. But let's see what's going to happen here. Skither's lap right now is 700ths behind the Tier 1 pole last season done by Leo Lund. That's how great our evolution is. And Jack moves over to let JDK through. JDK sprint slides! I think
that could seal the deal.
Yes,
JTK is still going to try to complete the lap to improve nonetheless. Obviously, the checkered flag out here. And we're going to see what changes here to end Q3 in Las Vegas. Skither right now on target for another home pole.
George is getting slipstream.
Well, there you go. There you go. Short's trying to do everything he can. He's up 2 tenths. He could beat Alex's lap. Maybe JTK's if he does not find the time. Deployment used. Across the line. The Dutchman only improves marginally. F1 shorts the line now. On his Tier 1 debut. Crossing 7th. He's out-qualified Gecko. Incredible. And now, Skither giving Ferrari and himself back-to-back poles. He's been on pole 3 of the last 4 races. And this one now makes it all 3 home races for Skither. Texas first, then Miami, now Las Vegas. The American driver on pole position here. Ferrari 1-2, Red Bull 3-4. KVS equaling his best qualifying effort. And if I believe George was third, that also be his best qualifying effort. Yes, George third. Best qualifying effort there. So, Skither, KVS, the top 2, George and Josh. Ferrari and Red Bull close to each other once again this weekend. Jack, 5th. JTK only down to 9th. That's a big surprise for him being let in the McLaren and doing what he did in the Alpine earlier on. Getting out qualified by an Alpine as well. Shorts up in 7th. Cryptic 6th. Gecko 8th. And Alex Norris, the slowest of them all in Q3. Down there in 10th for Kick Sauber. Now we'll wait for the 5 red lights, of course. But Titan, what a thriller that qualifying session was.
Yeah, that qualifying was so good. Oh.
Well, we'll basically kind of do it all again with the slipstream and DRS and all that kind of stuff like that. That should be fun. Alrighty. Yeah. Fair play, Josh. Giving Shorts slipstream. Josh actually crediting Shorts, I think, there. Or Shorts crediting Josh, I should say. And Josh explaining why. We do not have any timer yet, but we currently have KVS planning to start in the hards. Shorts wanting to do the same. Andrea as well. This should be very interesting to see who goes for what tire on the start. Again, we notice from Tier 3 here, the undercut, usually on this game, very powerful. This circuit specifically, not as much. So we'll see if it does pay off here. Some of the drivers trying to go to the hards on the start and then switching over to the mediums later on. But we have a countdown. Less than 20 seconds remaining here before we go lights out. Titan, any thoughts here? Might have to include audio again.
Just want to try something here, but hopefully it works. But anyways, yeah, let's get ready for some racing here on the Vegas Strip.
Yes. Third time's a charm.
Oh yeah,
it's our third go.
Formation lap.
But we have formation lap back on, so let's do
yeah,
this.
Jack turned it on just
that.
for this race.
Just for this race. I'm guessing that's a test.
I think so. But I mean, bear in mind, we're at the end of the game cycle, so why not? You know.
Yeah, we had a little glitch here, if you remember that happening in Season 10 here. That was a formation lap back on as well.
Hey, if
that was when
happened,
Jack Andrews and someone else had the safety car restart glitched. It was a lap car.
Happens,
that was very weird.
And that means nothing winds up happening, and that means that the formation lap is finally good and not broken, and maybe we'll have it back on a more permanent basis come next game.
There you go. So, our championship standings heading into this event. Second place, Skither could get it tonight. TB on 217, Skither on 206. Big battle for 5th and 6th.
Because he got DQ'd for the formation lap.
Well, if he is coming back, he'll need an invite. But Florian and Cryptic, there's a battle there for 5th and 6th. Florian's not been racing. Cryptic could take it, pending what he does tonight. Battle for 13th through 15th. Willow, George, and JTK. That's an interesting one to look out for. And our constructors race for 2nd place. Ferrari hold it. Mercedes won it back. Close gap there. Closer between Mercedes and Red Bull for 3rd and 4th. Aston Martin with a very slim chance down in 5th. Williams and Haas, 8th and 9th. That was a trade, I think, last week or a few weeks ago in terms of the way the points swung. 3 points between those two teams for 8th. In terms of our tires, you see the medium compound fit on majority of the drivers. Maxwell, Goatley, Ding, Red, Minico, Andrea, the drivers outside the top 10 on hards. But only 2 drivers in that top 10, JTK and KVS, electing to go with the hard tire.
Yeah, this is what we're going to be looking at. I mean, we're going to be seeing the hards and the mediums play into effect. I believe. Well, I remember in the tier 3 race, well, pretty much everybody ran mediums to kick it off. That's what happened there. Here we go.
5 red lights for our 4th time here in Vegas for RPL F1. The 5 red lights come on, and it is lights out, and away we go. Who's gonna hit the jackpot tonight? Right now, Skither moving over already. George getting a blistering start. George is in 2nd place right now. He's never had a tier 1 podium. Could tonight be the night? Jack Miles on the inside of KVS. KVS is bogged down clearly. Josh behind Cryptic, Shorts and Alex toe-to-toe there, and crash. Wavy is off, but Wavy's got back going. Now to turn 5, where the chaos seems to erupt time and time again. Everyone got a vote down this time, but a lot of drivers just nudging each other, and you see Minico, one of those drivers, under fueling.
Yeah, quite a spectacle of bouncing around
A
here.
crash!
Boom! That's
Beanick keeps it
Andrea.
straight, though. That was Beanick and Andrea, as you said it, but Beanick somehow straightens out the wheel right there, kept it going. We look at the positions gained there from the opening lap so far, but they're still racing before the strip. Look at this gaggle of cars. The kerfuffle continues.
Minico on the inside of Andrea.
Whoa!
That's close.
That was very close. Goatley got Maxwell there in the background, 3 wide. Down 3 for Shorts, down 2 for Josh, and for our lead, George! Leading a tier 1 race right now. He takes it.
Nice. See what he's got into those corners down Harmon Avenue. He holds it, but Will Skither opt to fight back. He's got double the DRS available to him. F1 Shorts losing a couple spots to Norris and Beatnik. And also, by the way, Red Fire has damage.
KVS, Cryptic, they swapped spots earlier on there on the opening lap. Now going back at it again. Cryptic gets the better end that time, and Josh giving KVS a little shove there through the corner. He's trying to get by with Gecko there waiting in the background. Lots of drivers trading spots back there for 10th. You saw Minico, Andrea, Knights in a big gaggle, but Skither reclaims the lead here into the braking zone.
And by the way, a couple of the guys that have low ERS available to them, like Cryptic, for example, he shut the ERS off just before he got into turn 4. That turn 4 into the sphere second, that is very critical to regaining that battery if you use quite a lot of it. That is pretty crucial. I've used that quite a lot in tier 3 yesterday. I know quite a few others have done it. But let's see what this fires here.
Down 4 from KVS, down 3 from Wavy and Danny, but up 3 for Knights. A critical start there from the Haas driver. Maybe could score some points if this thing all goes his way. Jack Miles hounding the back of George. Could Jack get 2 and 1 here? No, the straight line speed and the DRS not as powerful as he thought. But Gecko, is he going to get by KVS? These 2 good mates? KVS lets him go, it seems. KVS losing yet another place, though. That's not good for his race, especially for Ferrari's sake, trying to maintain 2nd in that Constructors. Skither this time leads lap 2 comfortably.
JDK was like, yeah, I'll follow Go here, and he goes up into 7th, getting past KVS. I'm thinking for KVS and his sake, I think the hards are not firing off.
No. But JTKs clearly have.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
making them work in the McLaren. Wavy and Goatley. Crash! Wavy again! Has come together with another driver.
My lord. That's a
Jack
good start for
gave
him.
Skither a punt there into the corner. Look at how it backed everybody up. The accordion effect really coming to effect right there. We get to the sphere section now as drivers try to get a vote down.
George had a bit of rear slip heading into the braking zone of the sphere.
It's so easy to rear lock into that section, and it doesn't help when another driver is right up your tail. You can easily rear lock it, especially not adjusting the brake bias or the differential throughout the event. But lap 3, obviously DRS already enabled, and you can already see some drivers almost punting the back of each other right there. Still have some battles further back. We had Danny and Knight, Danny and Ding. We have Maxwell and Goatley as well. But we keep our eye on the lead. Jack Miles wants it this time, and he'll become our third different leader to this race. Jack Miles takes over, but only just. Minico on Red Fire. They get Andrea. Crash! Into the wall! That's a big shunt right in the back, you saw. Minico and Red Fire. I think Minico got slammed there to the inside wall. Oh, and he collided with a teammate now. Knights got collected in their kerfuffle. Goatley and Ding, at the expense, get a penalty.
How has Minico not gotten any damage? I thought he just went fly like an eagle in on a wall. But
I know, that's what I thought. And now Minico getting nudged from Danny now. Minico,
just a lag spike.
Elbows out. Yeah, elbows out with everybody, it seems. Maybe it could have been, but honestly, that is wild stuff. Now, your favorite battle probably, since Dom is no longer in RPL, Danny and Ding. Ding and Danny.
Double D playing at it.
NRM KVS still pressurizing JTK. Remember, both these drivers on the hards. They'll be going to the mediums later on. Andrea, 10-second right there.
In the corner.
Cutting the corner. He just missed the corner.
Sphere.
Well, if anybody has damage, like you said about the whole Minico thing, it might be Andrea, but I don't see anything visible.
And either way, I don't see any either.
Skither. Is he going to retake the lead this time in lap 4? Jack blinking. That's because he's below 20%. Jack pulling over to let Skither retake this. And JTK has got Gecko. KVS says, I would like to follow suit, and he does.
Yeah, KVS playing the tail to wax a dog with JTK there. A little flying of rubber going airborne. Danny getting past Andrea. Back in a 14th spot. And Goatley, by the way, passing Knight for the 17th position. The KBS at the fastest lap so far.
Wow. Wow. All the drivers running 15th to 17th there all have penalties right now. 2 of them for track limits, the other for a blatant corner cut, it seems. But the Sauber sends it down the inside. That's Maxwell almost clipping the back of Goatley. Knights had to take avoiding action, and that's Minico out.
Crashed.
Big shunt. Safety car deployed. And that wheel has come off the Haas this time. And this time, he couldn't get away with one. Safety car deployed. Now this is going to change the complexion of this race for the hard runners, who were having such a good lap there just a little bit ago.
Minico was right behind, I believe it was right behind Danny and Red Fire when that incident occurred. Well, I wonder what in the world happened. Goatley is asking if he's lagging, but I don't see anything on his end.
Yeah, well, I mean, behind Minico, it was getting racy there. I'm not sure if Minico collided with somebody, but if he did, we'll definitely know. And Knight's feeling like he got rammed up the rear on the straight. Minico not happy with Red Fire. That's who he was not happy with. Now, it seemed like him and Andrea were the one collided down the straight, but that could be the collision.
I'm not repeating that line from Weavy.
Well, I'm not either, but we'll see if anyone comes in. I think this is a good time to do so.
Oh!
If you're a hard runner, you're banking on another safety car. ATK is in for the hard runners. Well, that's what I was just saying. But KVS inherits the lead. Gecko blocked the pit lane, and another driver having issues in front of the pit lane, just like Carlson tightened 2 seasons ago. Gecko is spun in front of the pit lane, and that's our second driver out of the event. He got disqualified. Gecko out.
Oh my god. Yeah, Gecko probably pissed. He just got the cookie treatment.
Yeah, happened to Carlson this race 2 seasons ago. He got away with it. Gecko didn't. Interestingly enough, though, even though JTK on the hards to start the race, he's on the mediums right now. He pitted, double stacked with Jack, and still came out in a relatively fair place. Red Fire, Maxwell, they also went for the mediums. They're probably not going to make it the rest of the race, but why not try something different? We had 4 drivers stay out.
Yeah. Some of the guys on the horse are opting to stay out. I mean, to be fair, KVS, he had to opt to stay out because, I mean, that's what they started on. And I'm not sure if those mediums are going to last 20 laps. And plus, even if KVS did find a way to maintain those tires and do well with it, he would have been in a double stack because of his teammate.
Just remember with this whole thing going on, Beatnik, a part of the Red Bull Academy. He's on loan. He doesn't have to abide by the Merc Academy rules. You say the same thing a lot? Well, I'll say it with Goatley now. Goatley, also a part of, I believe, Ferrari Academy. On loan as well there. Again, you said the mediums with 20 laps. I think you could probably have a little bit of help with this safety car, but it just doesn't do the work you'd want it to. If you're Maxwell, you're having to catch up to the safety car. Red and GTK have already caught up, but you're still going around the circuit, even though slower, you're still going around the circuit at halfway decent pace here. So we'll see if it works. It's doable, but you're going to be really on the edge with like 5 to go.
So a little more information. Minico was questioning why Redfire is even here in Tier 1 at this point. And Redfire actually stated that his and Minico was lagging all over the place, and he came across his front wing while Redfire was still alongside him. So, I mean, if those wind up
clip here.
That incident winds up seeing the stewards, we'll probably have to wait. It's probably going up to them and figuring out what is going on. And I mean, and this is going to be a little bit of awkwardness between the two of them because those two, Redfire and Minico, they are going to be Academy teammates next season with Minico in the Alpine and Redfire in Williams.
Oh, Andrea had to jam on the brakes there for KVS under the safety car. Interesting. I did put the Twitch clip in the chat for those wondering what happened with Minico and Red, but yeah, well, rivalries continue as we know it. And it just seemed like that Saudi race as well that Minico had at the start of this game cycle, haunting him with another street circuit, this time under the lights at the end of the game cycle. Just calamity and chaos in a sense. However, I know you're having a look at that. I have to also mention, Titan, Gecko's also out of this race. Gecko, before this race, it was either him or KVS, mentioned the possibility of a pit lane crash, because it is hard to get it down here in the pit lane, and it happened this time to Gecko. So they knew the possibility, they took the risk, and, well, it happened.
Oh yeah, very much so. And Goat Lee is mentioning he's got screen freeze problems.
Reese had this yesterday in Tier 2 and still won the race. Safety car in this lap.
Oh, hello, Mythic. Nice to see you spectating with us.
KVS leads, and we're back to green, even though the safety car is not in the pits. Will the game limit KVS's throttle? Yes, it does. It slows him down before the start-finish line. We'll see if Andrea catches up to overtake before then. No, he won't. We're looking at the action happen on further back. Skither having a go at Goatley. Goatley has a snap and backs out of this one. Yeah, you figured he wouldn't fight the leaders with that whole screen freeze situation going on. He doesn't. Smart move there. Let's Alex Norris go as well. Especially with your teammate right behind trailing. Yeah, don't fight your Academy teammate. A flashback to the past. JTK and Beatnik used to race it out in Tier 2. Now they're racing for 10th place in Tier 1. JTK gets the advantage there. And JTK now trying to get Goatley, who's struggling massively right there. Goatley on the inside line, hampered in the corner, and now overtaken by the corner.
Yeah, Goatley having a bit of problems on that one. Freya hanging on ahead of Ding, but he's also Skiller, Jack, and George right behind them. I'm thinking if Skiller gets past up, I think when Skiller gets close to Andrea, I think Andrea's gonna try to block and hold Skiller back while keeping Jack, trying to let Jack through.
There we go.
Those two will work together.
The games are starting to happen. The overtakes are starting to happen. Beatnik gets Goatley. Skither and Jack both get dinged. Ding is getting swarmed up here. Danny overtakes Maxwell further on back. And you can just see Skither trying to find the braking zone. And that almost got very tight there at the corner. Shorts trying to get Goatley, who's struggling as we said it. But Shorts cannot find a way past.
Jack almost missed his braking point and almost went into the back of Skither at the end of the braking zone. And this is Andrea.
Got it. He got the place. Second is his. Now Andrea will pull over for Jack and try to let the Academy teammate let go. And he will let him go. Further back, you have Ding in this fight. And you also have JTK trying to get some more cars now. His next target to pick off on Alex Norris here. Down the inside, he almost clipped Cryptic right there. Didn't do so. That allowed Alex to get the switchback. Here's Josh and Goatley. Two good friends right here battling it out. And now Goatley and Red Fire. Lots of action wherever you look. But Goatley, luckily, did not clip Josh there as he couldn't get him mowed down, but hits his teammate, having a snap on the rear, and Williams pair, luckily didn't end off worse there, but they came together.
Oh man, that's a bit of a wild cuff between those guys right there. But
remember, it's all going to be about how you get by the traffic here, and that will make the difference. KVS yet to pit. Jack and Skither have. Wheel to wheel here for second place. KVS picking up his teammate for the slipstream and now covering Jack. Skither regains the lead and Jack to second. Further back, Cryptic, George, Andrea. A three-car scrap here. Might be even more.
yeah, talk about quite a scrappage between a lot of these guys here trying to get these positions in. Cryptic not waiting. He lost to go by George here. George being hampered by Andrea, and Cryptic takes complete advantage, and so does GTK. George loses 2 spots in the turn 1, but he's trying to fight GTK back. At this moment, DRS applied, as Cryptic slings past Andrea to get into 4th, and GTK maintains and holds George back to stay in 6th.
You saw them stack up there into the corner. It's caught Josh H in the background off guard. That's Red Fire now trying to get by him. But yeah, Alex Norris had to take avoiding action on Ding as well there for 8th and 9th. Again, all going to be about how you get by the cars here who have not pitted, like Ding and Goatley. Speaking of Goatley, he's down a place this time. And a little bit of contact there. That was with Maxwell.
Whoa,
JTK, so Andrea, a little close action there. JTK gets Andrea. Andrea's now dropping like a rock. Andrea was going to try to let his teammate go, but struggled into the strip. And as you saw it, JTK, George, and Ding all got him. And for our lead, Jack Miles now has it, breezing by Skither. No contest there. And down the strip, 4 wide momentarily.
I think GTK needs a new pair of pants from that one. In the corner of the strip, Andrea had a little bit of rear lock and almost got into a crash with his teammate.
This is utter chaos.
I mean, this is just me showing a minor bit of bias. That was very scary. That was very scary to watch. But I think GTK is probably feeling the exact same thing as I am.
Red Fire nudging Ding. That's Academy teammates right there. Andrea and Ding had a go at each other moments ago, as you saw. And it was Red and Beatnik now as well. Action wherever you look, but also very important for the sake of this race later on. Some yet to pit, some may not make the end on the medium compound. Here's Josh, dive bomb, huge send, almost pounds Red Fire, but he gets Beatnik as well in the process. Big move and big prize for it.
I was on board with Red Fire and seeing that from his rear camera. Oh, Josh is fun! Josh is fun!
Josh off. Ding gets Andrea. The 2 Italians trade places, but that's very unfortunate for Josh in his Tier 1 return.
Josh just tried exiting out of the sphere.
Oh, crash! They come together! Andrea and Ding, the 2 Italians who came together 2 seasons ago, have it happen again. Skither to the lead once again. No contest again. Jack concedes it. JTK gets 4th back.
Oh my word.
That was under braking into the strip, and Shorts now is up to 8th.
I missed what happened between Ding and Andrea because I was just trying to switch over and mention about what happened with Josh when he came out of that sphere. Like I said, he just tried to get a little bit on the power exit the sphere, and then just the rear just dumped on him. That just sucks right there for Josh.
And Ding and Andrea, again, just trying to put the squeeze against each other. Didn't work out there. Andrea giving up from this race. Whether that's rear wing damage or not, he is out of this race in the pit lane. That's our third DNF of the event. Red Fire kept at bay by Shorts once again. And I'm sure Red Fire would love to give Shorts, the inexperienced 2-1 driver on debut, some lessons here. Red Fire on the mediums, trying to make it go to the end. He might need some lessons on how to make it to the end here, just because the fact that the mediums around here don't have enough data on that. With going over 15 laps. Usually the drivers go about 10 to maybe 16 here, not 20 like they're anticipating to go. Same with JTK and Maxwell.
It just all depends on what you have and what you can use available to you. As Jack looking to attack Skither again, he can still back into the lead here. But also, a little further up, JK having to deal with Cryptic as well. That is for 4th position. And just want to know, look who's sitting in 7th right now. Alex Norris hanging on pretty well, and Red Fire gets past that one Shorts to reclaim 8th.
A very stalking effort there. You saw in the background some spots trading. That was a RB ghosting because of contact. That was Danny. And Red and Shorts traded spots moments ago. Fastest lap, Jack Miles has credit for it now. We have a car pitting. Can't tell who it is. That's the Aston Martin of Ding. He got it woed down this time. Didn't end up disqualified from the event for blocking the pit lane. And you saw Red Fire under braking, losing the rear. A small snap there. And Beatnik, maybe a bit of lag going on there, but he was just on top of Danny. Overtake on use. Shorts having to go with Red Fire. Around the outside, Shorts is placed now. Back in 8th.
Oh, I just noticed Beatnik's got some damage on the right side of the lane.
I think Red Fire did moments ago too, but Red Fire losing another place now. Beatnik gets it. Danny almost hit the back of Red under braking, and now here's a battle between 2 Academy teammates. Danny playing easy with Josh, and you said Josh spun earlier?
Yes.
End plate damage, right side.
Yes. That's from the collision with the wall. I think that's how Beatnik got the damage on his end too, because he was right behind Josh when Josh spun out. So maybe Beatnik had nowhere to go when Josh
with
spun
DRS
out.
online, the lead may change hands, but Skither stays tucked in here at the halfway point. JTK, George, Cryptic, 3-car race here for 4th place. JTK, Cryptic, George. That's the running order there. And fair effort here from Alex Norris in this train, in this fight, very respectably. Now 2x2 further back. Knights, Goatley, Maxwell, and Wavy. And KVS finally in. But Wavy Knife under pressure from Maxwell. Goatley trying to get Knights. Now wheel to wheel, a drag race down the straight. And Goatley, if this race were to finish, would have got the place. But they'll all come out in front of KVS, who is finally on the medium compound. And you must have to talk about it here, because we can't ignore the fact that Alex Norris in this DRS train on run for a Sauber podium. Sauber's last podium in Tier 1, 81 races ago. It came at the expense of Jack Miles, as Knights swaps with Goatley once again. Technically Academy teammates. Goatley's just on loan.
Yeah, very much
Wiggle
so.
from Wavy.
I think the guys that started on those hards and had to switch had to wait till now to get onto the mediums. I hate saying it, but I think those guys have gotten themselves screwed over. Cut that
Hold on.
car.
Air from Skither. He's further back now, out of the corner. Down the strip will go.
He's on none. He's charging the
He's
battery.
just gonna stay in DRS and save some battery. Interesting in there.
Yeah.
We have Josh and Red Fire. Swap it around there. Here comes Cryptic, eager to get by JTK. George trying to follow suit. Cryptic clears JTK. George didn't, so George could not go through. However, down the strip, it's going to be a straight line speed race with Red Fire and Josh. As Josh, hungry for a spot, he'll get some pork at the expense of it. Danny tucks back in with Red Fire.
That's a good one. I just took a
I had
quick
to.
peek at the track limit warnings on the top five right now. The only person that has it, I think it's his second track limit penalty of the
Wow.
event. The only driver in the top five with a track limit warning is George with one, and that was on the last completed lap. The top four don't have any.
Wavy Knife. Hounding the back of Goatley. He wants to go now, but he's not going to do so. Wavy Knife blinking. That's because he's in none, but he just jams himself into the wall. Wavy Knife. His chance to make an opportunistic move, and he will. Or will he?
Oh, he's
He
inside.
will.
He's inside goat lead.
Yeah, well, he made the move on the Willie. Got through.
Going
Skither.
inside, being goaded.
Now,
Feels like to be
closer to
goated.
Jack compared to the last lap here. Skither in the slipstream and now electing to go the long way around and through. Skither re-inherits the lead here on lap 15. Further back, you mentioned JTK, one of those drivers in the mediums early on here. After pitting from the hards, he's got through on Cryptic, sweeping by and looking to take a first podium here for the first time in 18 rounds. And Cryptic, wiggle wobble there, error costing him. Cryptic vulnerable to George. George now trying to have a go. And you saw battles going on further back, but JTK realizes that he can't make the end of this race. He's in. There was a trade further back, I want to say. That was at the fringes of the points here, but either way, Red Fire, now he'll be the guy we're looking at here in terms of drivers inside the points, trying to make it last to the end here.
Man, so GTK thought he couldn't make it to the end.
Red Fire, penalty. That is the third different driver in the penalty club. Now, Maxwell and KVS. Two of our drivers from the F121 game cycle. Now two drivers, teammates, swapping places. And now, Wavy Knife getting a hand up there in Goatley. 13th and 12th. Changing hands, but Goatley just nudged him and then clipped the rear of the barrier. Goatley losing time and places. While that happens, for our lead, we'll see a change again.
And now Max on the inside of goat lead as Jack gets the lead back from Skither. And George takes a third from Cryptic. And by the way, look who's still hanging with them. Alex Norris in the Sauber.
3 wide. 3 abreast here into the next set of corners. Josh H could win out big on the inside. Side by side with B-Nick, and he has. He took a gamble and it paid off.
Nice move.
Shorts now wants those places back. On his Tier 1 debut for Alpine, he could get mega points. Right now running 7th, slotting back in.
That was a very, very nice move. Calm and collected was Josh in there, and very solid stuff right there. Not gonna lie there. Shorts
Speaking
now
of Josh,
on the inside,
Shorts
gets
making the
it
attack
done.
back.
Yes.
6th place.
And bear in mind, Josh and Beatnik, they have a right wing end plate damage, and they're
Yeah.
still hanging on to the points. That
I
just
gotta
shows
give them a
grit
lot
from
of
those
effort.
two.
Yeah, well, B-Nick as well, being a Tier 3 driver. They said he was washed. Well, he said it, not us. But he said he was washed. So what? Look at him running there in 8th place at his home race for good measure. A lot of really good efforts here tonight. Not a good effort there from Goatley, getting another penalty. Skither hounding the back of Jack, and he'll repass he'll repass Jack this time, Skither will. That's lap 17 for you. George could be on for a first Tier 1 podium, Titan. He's never had one. Could tonight be the night?
What's going off of the little opening theme from WWE Raw here is Skither now back
love it, though,
takes
yeah.
the fastest lap from his teammate, and that I think
Danny-
actually is a good choice.
Got Beatnik, and I believe Knights, JTK, and Wavy are still in a scrap. JTK, who pitted a moment ago, still not gaining what we thought he would, but this time he'll gain a place. It's on FRC Knights, upper edge there before the start-finish line. Lap 18 we're on, and this race is not far from over. Just like Monza, it seems to go by quickly. And speaking of quick, all these cars staying in the DRS train is going to be what they're going to need to still be quick in this race and have a chance. That third place spot, though, Alex Norris, he's loving this. That Sauber has a lot of straight line speed. It might be the worst car, but you know what? He's got more straight line speed than the Aston does. Maybe not the Red Bull too much, but he is really hooking himself up here for a first Tier 1 podium. He missed out on it at Baku and would love to get redemption tonight. That's one way to win the lottery.
You know, that was actually I was about to say, what if Norris was the impossible? When was the last time we had a Sauber on the podium? I don't even know if they had it.
Yes, we have. Jack Miles, like I said, a little bit ago. 81 races ago. Season 9.
Woo.
Azerbaijan.
That's a long ways away, but man. You know, I was mentioning about the hard tire guys getting screwed over. Maybe not, because KBS is back in the points. He got by Red Fire. GTK trying to chase him as well.
NRM KVS up in a 10th, back into the points. But yeah, you do tend to forget about how Sauber had that podium in Baku, but they also had one long time ago with Zatsi, our original league owner. And JTK sweeps past Red Fire.
Yeah, that's because Red Fire made a mistake just on that last corner turning on the Harmon Avenue. He clipped the wall just a little bit and had a little bit of rear slide. That was a bit of a hair-raising moment for Red Fire there, and that allowed GTK to complete advantage and get himself up into 11th. But now KVS and JTK's next target is Beatnik, and I think he's reeling him in pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of where Sauber run with Alex Norris, you want to talk about the last time they were in contention for a podium, even though they didn't get one? Season 10 Zandvoort. That chaotic race with only 14 drivers. We had 14 drivers last week, and it was these two the headlines. Jack and Skither. Jack won the championship, Skither won the race, and Jack retakes the lead of this race on lap 19. You mentioned Beatnik and KVS. That's not far-fetched from a place trading there, but you know what? Beatnik might get one place before that. He's hounding the back of Danny. Before DRS is enabled, Danny will keep the place, but Shorts under threat and now loses one.
Yeah, Shorts losing the position to Josh at this moment with Danny up behind him, Beatnik as well right behind him, and actually I think KBS is about to get in DRS range, but no, GTK says hello. I go flying by up in a 10.
Well, don't count him out. He still could be in the running for a 6th place finish. Might not be what he anticipated in a McLaren, but still not bad considering these circumstances with what he decided to go with. You got to give it to some of the drivers trying to pull off upsets. Yeah. Well, another thing too is we've not had a first-time podium sitter this season in RPL. It would be the first ever season in Tier 1 we would have that if this record continues. But with George and Alex in contention right now for that podium, this thing is not said and done with. And you said it, JTK and KVS. They are back in this fight. And JTK is there. He wants one now.
He's not waiting.
Lunge to the inside. Beatnik has to back off. JTK gets 9th with the hellacious send. Cryptic gets George, and there's a yellow. Goatley's off and into the wall. Rear wing backed into it.
Cryptic getting past George to get himself into the 3rd place spot. Very solid stuff there. Meanwhile, Josh losing P6 to one Shorts, and KBS is now back in the points. He overtakes Beatnik for the 10th place spot.
It's simply overtake or be overtaken. Josh, will he attack back? No, Shorts protecting. And now Danny wants his say as well. Not talked a lot about Danny, who could be on for a best Tier 1 result tonight as well. JTK, though, is there. George gets 3rd place now back from Cryptic, and this is hair-raising action still for this train. 6th on back.
Yeah, quite hair-raising indeed. JTK is just putting the pedal to the metal here. He's going to one here.
Into the wall! Josh! Slam slams it.
It's going to be on JTK, unfortunately.
He didn't make contact, but he just sent one right there to where Josh had to back off. He tried, but he hit the wall in the process. That's surely more damage to the Red Bull.
I think Josh is going to be saying that JTK did him dirty, and I think JTK may share some responsibility.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but a bit of a send didn't really pay off. We're looking at third place now.
Yeah, on board as Cryptic goes down the inside and gets past George to get himself into the third place spot. Meanwhile, a little further back, GTK passing F1 Shorts to get in the P6. KVS and Danny are fighting for their... Whoa! Little mess there. Danny gets a little too rowdy with the curb. Held up KVS, unfortunately. That GTK running off, but I don't think he's going to gain anything out of it. And Beatnik losing a couple of positions to KVS. And, oh, no, maybe not. Beatnik, KVS lost a couple of spots to Josh and Beatnik temporarily, but Beatnik loses the place back to KVS there. And KVS now back ahead of Josh to get himself into the 9th place position, but Josh fighting back. KVS lost back, and Josh keeps the position for now. Meanwhile, F1 Shorts has lost the DRS to JTK right now, 1.6 seconds to gap. But there's still a few fights around left in here. I mean, we had the battle for the lead between Jack and Skither. Skither almost out of DRS range against Jack here. The battle for third between Cryptic, George, and Alex Norris. And then you have F1 Shorts having to deal with Danny, Josh, KBS, and Beatnik.
George not waiting any longer. He takes his opportunity with a risk, but goes through. Third place is George's. And you know what? With what you said about JTK pulling on Shorts here, although Danny does not have the DRS on F1 Shorts, it's safe to say vulnerable he is. Josh and KVS, wheel-to-wheel action here. KVS gets a little squeeze. Josh prevails, but KVS trying to get on the power and couldn't do so. Beatnik now at his home Grand Prix, trying to get past. No ERS for Josh. Look at this, 10% compared to KVS. Even though he's on 20, he's still able to power past. We're on the outside. Contact! They touch! KVS off!
I think that might be KVS's problem there, and Goat Lee crashes in on the strip. Heavy damage on him.
Yeah, Goat Lee running into more errors, but we will not have a safety car at this stage of the event.
Yeah,
3/10 now the gap after it was 1.1 just last time by with our two leaders. And Wavy Knife mounting an attack on Knights. Successful he is for 12th place. But yeah, Skither reeling Jack back in here.
I think also Alex Norris is biding his time, just waiting for the right moment to cripple and attack both Josh and Cryptic here. Meanwhile, speaking of which, Cryptic now side by side with George as they're fighting for the third place spot. Cryptic ahead.
Yeah, I really do agree with you on Alex Norris. He's definitely waiting for the right moment to pounce, and reasonably so, because we're at 2 to go here in Vegas.
I think he's going to wait till the final lap on the strip to just unleash
running in the
all.
last point spot, and right now, trying to chase after Josh and Danny. However, I got to give fair credit to Shorts. He's caught back up to JTK.
Yeah, Shorts was like, what? I think like almost 2 seconds behind about a lap and a half ago.
He was ahead of Danny, but he's able to pull because he's still in DRS while these guys fight behind. KVS trying to protect the place here that he just got back. Look at the damage on Beatnik. It's definitely costing him time, but KVS doesn't care. He'll get the place back. 10th place there. And our two leaders, 1 and 2, with 5 sectors to go. 3/10 the difference right now. Jack holding Skither back.
Well, KVS thought about sneaking a peek and a switchback on Josh, but Josh scouted it and kept him behind.
Ding pitting again. I'm going to guess this is for another pair of softs.
He's
However,
still fastest lap.
Yeah, well, the fastest lap right now currently is held by Skither, 31.7. Ding is a 31.9. Either way, he'll have a few more times to do it. Yellow flag, that is a
Wavy.
incident from Maxwell. Well, yeah, Wavy.
Wavy.
Yeah, Wavy. Yeah, Wavy. Yeah, Wavy's got big damage. I was going to say, he's got a few more times to do it, Skither. He'll tuck back in behind Jack and not make the move this time. George going through on Cryptic, or is he? He's going to back off and wait for it right here. 1 lap to go. 1 lap remaining in Vegas. And here we go. This is going to get interesting. 90 seconds more to see what's going to happen and what this race has in store for us. KVS is trading spots and the fridges of the points. That's down in 8th. While Cryptic still maintains P3.
Yeah, Cryptic still maintaining that P3, and Jack still holding Skither back, but the strip is where it's going to be.
They all have a recharged battery, both of them at 100% on their tank. And it's another Tier 1 Classic between Jack and Skither for the victory. Skither trying for his 30th. Jack trying to tie Ding on the all-time win list with win 12. And it will be his first win after the Tier 1 Championship. Cryptic trying to keep George at bay as well. Any DRS games, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen after this corner, because remember where that detection point is. Longer on the straight. Big moment for Skither. But Skither and Jack are both dumping. Jack has less, Skither has more. Jack, weaving and bobbing, trying to go defensive now. Skither with DRS. Look at the battery management. Skither coming quick to the right, now left. He faked him. To the inside. Huge send. They come together.
Baby.
Alex gets 3rd. It's going to be a photo finish here. Jack and Skither for the 30th time, victorious in Tier 1. He's got it. Just barely over Jack. And Alex Norris for 3rd now, trying to defend from George. George, for the first time, has hit the jackpot. A Tier 1 podium. And so close for 4th and 5th. Cryptic and Alex, loosey-goosey to cross the line. Cryptic held on over Alex. But it is George's first Tier 1 podium. You gotta love that. And Wavy and Maxwell.
I think
Tempers flaring.
I think the with Cryptic getting over Alex there, I think Alex got done just a minor bit dirty, because there was contact between Cryptic and Alex Norris, and Alex Norris got very loose. That resulted in Cryptic taking the position.
JTK 6th, Short 7th, KVS 8th, 9th is Josh on his Tier 1 return. And
Maxwell
huge
just
hit from
crashed.
Maxwell. Huge hit. And Danny rounds out our points. But yeah, Short's on his Tier 1 debut is 7th. Ding gets fastest lap at the end of the event. Second time worth waiting for. Goatley, our last one, will cross the line. 16th, last of our finishers. But yeah, Alex Norris, 5th place for Sauber. That's huge points for them in the Constructors. Especially in the fight with Haas and Williams trying to battle it out. Cryptic just missed out, and George, finally a Tier 1 podium finisher. But Skither gets his 30th Tier 1 win. Wow.
Damn! It's an upset and a half for those that like March Madness and the NCAA Men's Second Round Tournament. 10 seed Arkansas eliminated number 2 seed St. John's 75-66.
We don't care. We care about our podium results right now.
Yep.
The champagne is going to be sprayed in just a few moments' time. Skither giving us a thumbs up. But he'll get to celebrate on the top step once again. Back to back. Ferrari have got quite the treat here to put Jack and TB under pressure for their seats. 4 of the last 6 races. In fact, if you want to get more specific, the last 7 races have been won by our top 2 finishers. Skither and Jack, our top 2. And it's one of the other races inside the top 10 on closest Tier 1 margin of victories. 1/10 the difference. George nabs a first Tier 1 podium. Well deserved there. He's been waiting a super long time for that. Alex Norris, P5. Second ever best result, I guess you could say. Baku was P4. F1 Shorts on debut, down there 7th. Not bad at all. Danny from P14. FRC Knights from P18. Gained some spots in the race. Alex Norris finished P5 from P10. Very well-deserved effort there. Fastest lap to ding outside the points. And we lost 3, technically 4 drivers from this race, with Maxwell, Andrea, Gecko, and Miniko falling out of the event. Who would you give driver of the day to from this event? I think it either has to go to Shorts or Alex. I mean, George, good effort there too. Finally a first Tier 1 podium.
I'm agreeing. I'm saying it's between George, Alex, and F1 Shorts on my part. It's between those. It's between those 3.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably give it to Alex. I mean, George deserves a lot of credit. He really played those tactics to perfection. But Alex staying with this train the entire time in a Sauber, qualifying P10. It's not always about where you qualify to. Because if you look at the drivers who gain spots, so like some drivers who miss Q2 and still finish in the points, it's more so a driver of the race. They had to really show what they were worth in the race. And you know, if you start back there, do your own doing a lot, it's kind of hard to give you a drive of the day. I mean, Skither put in a good effort too, but I just don't think that was the #1 performance when you look at drivers like Alex, Shorts, and George, what they were able to do. But yeah, I would have to give it to Alex. Congrats to Shorts on a first points in Tier 1 on debut.
Agreed.
Any closing thoughts from the race?
None at this time.
All right. Well, folks, we have some races to continue this game cycle. Not many, but still some races. Tier 3 next week in Singapore. Again, both championships can be decided. Same thing with Tier 2, which is in Brazil. And Tier 1 also in Brazil here for the penultimate round next week. Titan, this week, a lot of the Tier 1 drivers were probably watching Tier 3 thinking, all right, although they're not Tier 1 drivers, what is this race going to play out like? What's going to happen? What can I predict for my Tier 1 race? However, the Tier 3 drivers probably watch the Tier 1 drivers and are going to say, what could I have done different? Now, with Tier 2 and Tier 1 running at the same circuit for Brazil, what do you expect there next week for both races?
Probably the same thing. The Tier 1 drivers will be watching the Tier 2, thinking, okay, let's see what these guys do. This is what I'm thinking, what I can do for my strategy. And after the Tier 1 race, the Tier 2 guys will be looking at it, be going like, yeah, maybe I should have done this differently, or I should have done this, or done this different. Anything is likely possible here.
One last thing. Remember what we said about Red Fire on those mediums? He made it to the end. On the 20 laps. May have not been points, but it was to the end. So, folks, a little bit longer to go in this game cycle for points-paying events here. Remember, we do have our off-season races coming up here for RPL in F1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. But to decide our championships, 2 more weekends of racing to go. Like we said, catch us for Tier 3 Singapore, and for Tier 2 and Tier 1, our next races in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Until next time, folks, I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles, and alongside me tonight, RPL Titan Iron. We will see you next time at RPL Formula 1. Have a good night, and see you then.